Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up, if you will always look there. Power has never belonged to those who speak loudest or move fastest. It belongs to those who can remain calm while the world accelerates. The modern landscape rewards reaction, but reaction is weakness disguised as urgency. The Stoic moves differently. They act from structure, not emotion. When others scramble for attention, they construct foundations. When others chase control to prove themselves right, the Stoic cultivate composure. Power begins in the mind that refuses to be pulled by noise. The strong have learned that power is not seized. It is built layer by layer through discipline, clarity, and restraint. It forms quietly in solitude before it is seen in action. It grows in the unseen hours, in the choices made when no one is watching. The Stoic builds power by mastering what cannot be taken, their thoughts, their focus, their reactions. From that center, they move with precision while others move with panic. Every challenge becomes material for construction. The pursuit of power is not conquest, it is refinement. Each test, loss, and moment of resistance becomes the forge where identity hardens. The one who governs themselves cannot be governed. The one who disciplines their ambition cannot be bought. The one who moves with principle cannot be broken. This is how power is gained, not through domination, but through dominion over the self. And once this foundation is built, it becomes permanent. The pressure of the current landscape forms a climate where strength is no longer optional. The world shifts faster than attention can track, and every new shift rewards those who act with clarity. Noise intensifies, systems strain, and the individual who maintains internal order becomes a decisive force. Those who deny this pressure weaken, while those who study it gain structural advantage. Power begins with a posture of awareness that does not bend under acceleration. Modern life demands a level of vigilance that previous decades never required. Economic instability influences the mindset of millions, and uncertainty becomes a shared environment. The Stoic advances through this landscape by shaping their reactions with intention. Marcus Aurelius stated that the mind adapts to its aims, and this principle grounds the individual in turbulent conditions. A controlled mind stabilizes identity when environments shift. Attention collapses without management, and unmanaged attention erodes power. Digital saturation overwhelms the mind, creating fractures in discipline. Each distraction drains a measure of sovereignty that could have been directed into momentum. The person who recognizes this trade removes themselves from the cycle and regains command. Focus becomes the filter through which strength takes form. A Stoic in the current landscape treats attention as a rare currency. Every instance of clarity becomes leverage over chaos. The individual chooses what to engage and what to reject, aligning energy with outcomes. Seneca wrote that the person who controls themselves cannot be harmed by noise. Control creates psychological armor that cannot be breached by shifting trends. Identity forms under pressure, not ease. The posture held in difficulty shapes long-term capability. Challenges in the current landscape serve as training grounds for those who confront them with calculated discipline. Resistance creates density of character when met with commitment. A firm stance toward adversity generates influence. Power stabilizes when the individual removes dependencies that weaken their structure. Emotional volatility produces openings for external forces to enter, but neutrality closes those openings. A calm mind processes data with clarity, even when conditions intensify. This stability becomes a competitive edge that others feel but cannot replicate. Presence sharpens into authority. economic tension heightens the need for strategic awareness. Cost of living increases alter priorities, and financial pressure impacts decision-making. The Stoic does not collapse beneath these forces. They elevate their precision to counter them. Planning becomes a tool for strength rather than fear. Strategic foresight reduces vulnerability. Influence grows when the individual operates with consistency. Each repeated action deepens identity and reinforces capability. Aristotle observed that excellence emerges from repetition, and in the current landscape, repetition shapes dominance. Habits turn into infrastructure, supporting the mind under strain. Consistency becomes silent force. Physical posture influences mental clarity. A grounded stance cultivates presence, which amplifies psychological weight. When a person enters a room with calm conviction, others register it instinctively. This presence emerges from disciplined training of thought and behavior. Stillness becomes a recognizable signal. The individual gains power by reducing internal friction. Internal conflict consumes strength that could build progress. When the mind operates as a unified system, decisions accelerate, and action loses resistance. A unified identity moves with clean precision. Internal alignment becomes structural power. The capacity to endure discomfort expands influence in the current landscape. Environments test resilience, and those who break early lose position. The Stoic studies discomfort and adopts endurance as a norm. Epictetus taught that difficulty reveals character, and this principle applies with heightened relevance. Endurance generates gravity in a world accustomed to avoidance. Many people enter cycles of constant reaction, draining their stability. Reactive patterns weaken strategic capability. The individual who responds with intention maintains direction. Controlled responses hold more strength than uncontrolled aggression. Direction stabilizes action. Energy allocation determines progress in a landscape of constant stimulation. Every decision carries an energetic cost, and efficient allocation intensifies forward movement. The Stoic channels energy into building, not leaking. This focus elevates productivity in a distracted world. Directed effort becomes compounding power. A refined identity forms through disciplined ritual. Rituals create continuity, strengthening the connection between intention and behavior. Morning structure, physical discipline, and reflective practice fortify resilience. These actions shape a mindset that withstands external shifts. Structure creates momentum. In the current landscape, confidence emerges from preparation rather than emotion. Emotional confidence fades under pressure, but prepared confidence endures. Preparation builds a foundation from which power can move without hesitation. Those who invest in preparation extend their advantage. Grounded certainty becomes rare strength. Influence grows through precision in communication. The way a person speaks reflects their internal order. Clear language cuts through clutter and stabilizes interactions. People trust those who communicate with clean intent. Precision generates authority. Control over one's environment amplifies internal discipline. A clean space clears mental pathways, eliminating friction that slows execution. Order strengthens focus, and focus strengthens power. A simplified environment raises performance under pressure. Structure reinforces clarity. Stoic reflection sharpens strategic awareness. When the individual reviews their actions without self-deception, they create a cycle of improvement. Reflection reduces blind spots, allowing the mind to adjust with accuracy. Honest evaluation shapes mastery. Awareness corrects trajectory. In the current landscape, uncertainty rewards adaptability. Adaptability emerges from calm analysis rather than impulsive reaction. The Stoic assesses conditions, adjusts patterns, and maintains internal equilibrium. This approach grants an edge over those who panic under change. Flexibility rooted in discipline becomes influence. Power strengthens when the individual rejects the need for external validation. Seeking affirmation weakens stability and opens dependence. The Stoic develops self-contained certainty, immune to shifting opinions. Others perceive this independence as gravity. Independence builds command. Strategic silence conveys strength when used with intention. Speaking only when necessary signals control and presence. The individual who withholds unnecessary commentary gains psychological leverage. Silence becomes a tool that shapes perception. Measured speech carries weight. Authority deepens through consistent results. Achievements prove capability more effectively than claims. When a person aligns thought, action, and outcome, their influence expands without effort. Results communicate competence. Consistency creates recognition. A Stoic gains power by studying patterns in human behavior. Understanding motivation reveals leverage within interactions. People respond to certainty, discipline, and calm strength. These traits influence outcomes more effectively than force. Behavior becomes strategic data. Maintaining emotional neutrality stabilizes decision-making. Neutrality prevents clouded judgment during crisis. The individual who remains centered processes options with clarity. Calmness becomes a strategic asset. Stability shapes outcomes. Strength emerges from responsible self-governance. The individual must control appetite, impulses, and wandering attention. Uncontrolled impulses weaken structural integrity. Controlled impulses concentrate force. Self-governance defines power. The person who trains their mind to detach from convenience builds capability. Comfort weakens resolve when pursued excessively. Purposeful discomfort sharpens endurance and fortifies character. The Stoic embraces disciplined challenge. Endurance increases capacity. Momentum forms through disciplined execution. Each completed task fuels the next with increased ease. Progress compounds when distraction loses influence. Action becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. Execution produces strength. The current landscape filled with instability rewards those who maintain long-term perspective. Short-term panic erodes judgment, but a long view stabilizes direction. Stoic philosophy supports wide-angle thinking that calms internal turbulence. Perspective strengthens resolve. Distance clarifies action. The Stoic gains power by mastering time management. Time controls outcomes, and wasted time weakens position. Allocating time with precision raises productivity and influence. The Stoic respects time as a finite resource. Discipline shapes temporal power. Strategic withdrawal enhances strength when used deliberately. Stepping back from chaotic environments protects mental clarity. Withdrawal functions as a reset that recalibrates identity. Isolation sharpens perception. Distance produces insight. Financial discipline amplifies autonomy in the current landscape. Rising costs demand intentional allocation of resources. Savings, investment, and controlled expenditure strengthen freedom. The Stoic minimizes unnecessary consumption to maintain stability. Autonomy expands influence. A grounded individual carries weight in social dynamics. People gravitate towards stability during uncertainty. A calm presence influences group behavior without force. This influence grows from disciplined self-mastery. Stability becomes leadership. Mental resilience strengthens through exposure to challenge. Controlled difficulty expands cognitive durability. When the individual practices resilience, they gain the ability to withstand pressure without collapse. This endurance generates lasting advantage. Strength becomes habitual. Stoic detachment enhances clarity during conflict. The person who separates emotion from evaluation sees situations with accuracy. This clarity improves negotiation, strategy, and problem-solving. Detachment increases control. Perspective reduces volatility. Power expands when the individual maintains internal honesty. Honest self-assessment eliminates illusions that weaken capability. The Stoic confronts limitations without avoidance, enabling precise improvement. Honesty produces direction. Direction strengthens mastery. The person who refines their posture and body language radiates authority. Posture communicates confidence and stability. Adjusting physical alignment improves internal state and external perception. Presence becomes strategic communication. Alignment shapes influence. Strategic focus on essential objectives cuts through distraction. When the individual concentrates energy on high-impact actions, progress accelerates. Distraction dilutes strength, but clarity strengthens execution. Purpose directs attention. Efficiency rises. Psychological endurance forms a backbone for navigating economic turbulence. Many people collapse under financial stress, but disciplined minds maintain clarity. The Stoic treats pressure as stimulus for growth. Endurance becomes strategic advantage. Stability withstands volatility. Social influence increases through consistent integrity. People recognize reliability and align with those who demonstrate principle. The Stoic upholds values without theatrics, building trust through action. Integrity shapes reputation. Reputation strengthens reach. Identity gains density when shaped by disciplined repetition. Each repeated behavior deepens alignment between intention and outcome. The Stoic forms identity through deliberate action rather than external circumstance. Alignment forms character. Character reinforces power. Power expands through control of internal narrative. The individual who directs their thoughts controls their reality. Stoic training refines thought patterns into tools of influence. Internal order produces external command. Thought becomes architecture. In the current landscape, the individual who maintains structure, clarity, endurance, and strategic awareness rises above instability. These traits form the foundation for lasting influence. The Stoic strengthens themselves through daily discipline, shaping identity into a stable force. Strength becomes a natural expression of controlled intent. Power grows from internal mastery. Strength forms when a person confronts their internal landscape with precision and honesty. The pursuit of power begins by shaping what cannot be seen before influencing what others can. Every movement toward discipline strengthens the architecture of identity, giving the individual gravity in a distracted world. A mind trained to observe itself without distortion becomes a force that does not fracture under pressure. This internal structure sets the stage for influence that endures. The path to mastery sharpens when the individual recognizes that self-command is the foundation for every external victory. Conflicts with distraction, impulse, fear, and disordered thought weaken a person long before any external obstacle appears. When someone trains their reactions, regulates their attention, and directs their intention with purpose, they elevate their strategic position in all environments. This is the essence behind Plato's insight that the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Internal victory stabilizes the ground upon which all power will stand. A person who cannot govern their impulses forfeits control of their direction. Influence weakens when the mind shifts without intention, pulled by habit rather than aim. The Stoic reinforces internal order by treating thoughts as tools rather than commands. Discipline in this domain strengthens decision-making at every level. Self-governance becomes a decisive advantage. Identity gains density through repeated action. Consistent behavior shapes character more reliably than ambition alone. Even the strongest intention fades when it is not reinforced through structured practice. Aristotle's observation that excellence is a habit highlights the truth that repetition forms ability. Each disciplined action becomes a brick in the structure of personal power. Habits strengthen or weaken the individual depending on their alignment. A habit aligned with clarity amplifies capability, while a habit aligned with avoidance diminishes it. The person who recognizes this dynamic gains the ability to design identity rather than drift into it. Self-construction becomes a deliberate process guided by purpose. Repetition becomes engineering rather than routine. The individual who refines their daily structure creates a protective container for growth. Structure reduces the influence of distraction by defining where energy flows. When energy flows consistently, momentum builds. Momentum strengthens posture, presence, and execution. Habits transform intention into influence. Wisdom emerges from accurate self-understanding. When a person knows their tendencies, strengths, blind spots, and limits, they gain leverage over their own behavior. Strategic self-awareness sharpens perception and leads to cleaner decision-making. Aristotle noted that knowing yourself is the beginning of wisdom, and this principle supports power in every domain. Awareness removes the guesswork from personal development. A mind trained to observe itself without emotional distortion gains the ability to adapt. Adaptability becomes strength when rooted in clarity rather than instability. The individual confronts their weaknesses, applies correction, and reinforces themselves through consistent discipline. This cycle produces continuous improvement without chaos. Awareness becomes strategic refinement. Self-knowledge elevates the ability to lead. Leadership begins with commanding one's internal state before attempting to influence external dynamics. Those who understand themselves respond rather than react, guiding interactions with a steady hand. People recognize this steadiness and respond to it with trust. Leadership forms naturally from internal order. Authority develops through visible discipline. When others witness consistent behavior, they perceive reliability. Reliability becomes influence because it creates predictability in chaotic environments. A disciplined person becomes a center of gravity. Others orient themselves around that stability. Strategic strength grows when the individual eliminates contradictions within their identity. Contradiction fractures judgment, disperses focus, and weakens intention. A unified identity moves with clarity and power. The Stoic trains this unity by aligning values, actions, and thought. Internal congruence sharpens external influence. People often seek control over the world while neglecting governance of themselves. This imbalance creates frustration, instability, and wasted effort. External success collapses without a stable internal platform. The Stoic reverses this pattern by fortifying the internal before engaging the external. Internal command creates sustainable power. Presence gains weight when the individual holds themselves with disciplined stillness. Stillness does not imply inactivity, it signifies internal order. A calm person who has conquered their impulses radiates authority without speaking. This presence influences environments quietly yet powerfully. Presence becomes a signal of internal strength. Attention sharpens into force when it is directed deliberately. The modern environment divides attention without restraint. weakening the individual who does not control its flow. A focused mind generates momentum in every action. Precision enhances the quality of execution. Attention becomes a weapon when trained. A person who conquers themselves gains resilience that others can feel. Resilience shapes how others perceive capability. People trust those who maintain composure during pressure. This trust becomes a form of leverage. Influence expands without force. Emotional discipline becomes a pillar of internal victory. When emotion governs action, direction becomes unstable. The Stoic trains emotion to serve clarity rather than disrupt it. A centered mind evaluates crisis without distortion, gaining advantage where others collapse. Emotional discipline reinforces strategic thinking. Consistency builds momentum in every domain of life. A person who repeats disciplined behaviors establishes identity. Identity shapes decisions. Decisions create results, and results build power. This progression stabilizes the individual internally and expands influence externally. Habit becomes architecture. The Stoic strengthens their identity through daily refinement. Each day becomes an opportunity for structural reinforcement. This reinforcement compounds over time, building capability quietly, yet decisively. The individual becomes immune to stagnation. Growth becomes a default state. People underestimate the impact of small behaviors sustained consistently. Small actions accumulate into significant outcomes. The disciplined person understands this and channels their energy into repetition. Repetition shapes perception, skill, and influence. Small, consistent efforts build large, long-term strength. Self-awareness protects the individual from blind pursuit of the wrong aims. People who lack understanding of themselves attempt to achieve goals that do not match their nature. This misalignment creates internal tension and wastes energy. Strategic clarity eliminates misdirected effort. Self-knowledge corrects trajectory. A person who understands their patterns can modify them with precision. Modification becomes easier when behavior is observed without judgment. The Stoic studies the self as one would study any system. This detachment enhances accuracy. Improvement becomes methodical. Internal victory creates the psychological conditions for external success. When the individual conquers fear, hesitation, emotional volatility, and inner fragmentation, they remove internal barriers to power. This liberation sharpens execution and elevates presence. People recognize authority that arises from internal mastery. Internal victory becomes external influence. Authority grows from practiced restraint. Restraint signals strength because it demonstrates control over impulse. A restrained individual does not act to prove themselves, and this absence of desperation amplifies their presence. Restraint becomes a form of power that does not require explanation. Stillness communicates capability. The disciplined person maintains alignment under pressure. Pressure exposes the internal structures that define character. Those who have trained themselves remain steady when conditions shift. This steadiness increases their value in any environment. Steady individuals rise in chaotic landscapes. Habit shapes identity through repeated behavior. Repetition reinforces pathways in the mind that guide action. The individual who disciplines their habits gains control over their long-term trajectory. Habits become the sculptors of strength. Identity becomes engineered rather than accidental. Power stabilizes when the individual embraces discomfort. Comfort encourages stagnation, while controlled discomfort develops resilience. Exposure to challenge strengthens mental endurance. Endurance expands capacity for influence. Capability grows through deliberate struggle. Self-awareness refines intention. Intention directs action. Action builds results. When each stage aligns, power grows naturally. This alignment emerges from disciplined internal study. A Stoic does not fear honest evaluation. They examine their thoughts, actions, and responses with clarity. This examination reveals opportunities for correction and sharpening. Correction strengthens internal order. Order strengthens influence. The individual who conquers themselves stops seeking external permission. They move with autonomy rooted in internal certainty. Others sense this certainty and respond with heightened respect. Autonomy becomes a magnetic force. Independence strengthens presence. A stable internal state elevates strategic thinking. Strategy collapses when emotions distort perception. The Stoic removes distortion through disciplined neutrality. Neutral evaluation reveals the most effective action. Strategy gains clarity through emotional control. Internal victory enhances communication. When a person speaks from a disciplined mind, their words carry precision and weight. Others listen because the message arises from clarity. Clear communication influences decisions. Precision becomes authority. The individual who knows themselves understands how to position their strengths. They allocate their energy where it produces the greatest effect. This targeted application increases efficiency and results. Efficiency compounds influence. Self-knowledge becomes strategic leverage. Those who train internal order do not fear external obstacles. Obstacles reveal capability when confronted with determination. A conquered mind interprets difficulty as information rather than threat. This interpretation preserves focus. Focus advances progress. Every disciplined act refines the self. Refinement increases control. Control increases reach. The Stoic approaches improvement as a continuous process without endpoint. Growth becomes a permanent state of being. A person who conquers themselves carries a distinct calm. This calm is not passivity, it is concentrated strength. Calm behavior influences environments by stabilizing others. People gravitate toward internal strength. Calm becomes silent authority. Habits anchor identity. When habits align with disciplined aims, identity becomes unshakable. This stability supports long-term execution. Stability strengthens direction. Direction shapes influence. Self-mastery transforms the individual into a force that cannot be manipulated easily. External pressures lose their power to disrupt internal clarity. This independence enhances judgment and sustains psychological strength. The Stoic becomes a fixed point in a moving world. Internal mastery becomes external command. The pursuit of power continues as the individual deepens their commitment to internal victory, disciplined repetition, and accurate self-understanding. These principles form the core of influence that cannot be taken, only built. The ascent strengthens as clarity sharpens and structure solidifies, preparing the individual for greater capability. The internal foundation supports further expansion without collapse. The movement toward mastery remains active and ongoing. Power strengthens when a person prepares themselves for conditions they cannot yet see. The world does not reward intention without readiness. It rewards those who train themselves to act with precision when an opening appears. Many wait for circumstances to favor them, but the Stoic understands that opportunity is neutral until someone prepared steps into it. Preparation sharpens perception, allowing the individual to recognize possibilities others overlook. Readiness becomes a form of quiet strength. The disciplined person builds internal infrastructure long before external rewards emerge. When the mind is conditioned to act with clarity, unexpected shifts become gateways rather than threats. A prepared individual does not scramble or guess. They respond with actions shaped by prior discipline. This alignment between readiness and opportunity is the essence behind Seneca's observation that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Strategic preparation turns chance into command. Those who neglect preparation often attribute the success of others to good fortune. This belief hides the reality that capability, not coincidence, shapes most outcomes. A Stoic treats every day as an arena to refine judgment, sharpen skill, and strengthen identity. When opportunity arrives, they are already positioned to leverage it fully. Power consolidates around those who treat readiness as duty. Preparation expands influence by reducing hesitation. Hesitation is a form of internal disorganization that weakens execution. When a person has trained for difficulty, they move without uncertainty. This decisive movement creates momentum that others interpret as confidence. Confidence becomes a secondary benefit of preparation. Strategic readiness emerges through consistent habits. The individual who studies their environment, develops relevant skills, and maintains internal order becomes adaptable under pressure. Adaptability increases value in every domain. Skilled adaptability signals that the person can carry weight without collapse. Others recognize this as strength. Opportunity often appears disguised as difficulty. Many people retreat from challenging conditions, leaving openings for those with disciplined endurance. A Stoic does not retreat from difficulty. They engage it with preparation guiding their steps. Each challenge reveals where further sharpening is required. Difficulty becomes information. Preparation creates calm in situations that would overwhelm the untrained. Calmness provides clarity, and clarity leads to accurate decisions. A calm individual maintains direction even when external conditions destabilize others. Calm behavior communicates authority without a single word. Presence strengthens through composure. People gain power when they stop resisting the structure of reality. Energy wasted on denial weakens strategic capability. A Stoic accepts the landscape as it is, not as they wish it to be. Acceptance clarifies the limits and possibilities within the environment. Cleanthes express this through the line, "Lead me, Zeus, and you, fate, to wherever my assignment is set." Acceptance frees the individual from internal conflict. When resistance to reality dissolves, attention can be directed toward effective action. This redirection strengthens execution in ways that struggle against the inevitable never can. Acceptance is not surrender, it is alignment. Alignment increases power. The person who embraces their circumstances gains the ability to navigate them with precision. Each obstacle becomes part of a larger structure that can be leveraged through intelligent action. The Stoic focuses on what can be changed and releases what cannot. This division of control creates efficiency. Efficiency strengthens influence. When a person accepts the conditions of their life, they reduce emotional turbulence. Turbulence disrupts clarity, weakening judgment and slowing execution. Acceptance stabilizes the mind, creating a platform for decisive action. Stability translates into strategic strength. Stability also enhances perception. Reality favors those who study its patterns rather than those who resist them. Patterns reveal where energy should be applied and where withdrawal is wise. The Stoic becomes a student of reality, adjusting their posture to meet each moment with precision. This adaptability creates silent leverage in dynamic environments. Adaptation becomes command. Opportunity emerges more frequently for those who accept the terrain they walk on. Resistance blinds the mind, while acceptance sharpens awareness. People who move with the current landscape, not against it, access insights others miss. Insight becomes strategic advantage. Strategic advantage strengthens trajectory. Preparation and acceptance operate as parallel forces. Preparation equips the individual to act effectively, while acceptance reveals where action can produce the greatest impact. When combined, they generate a form of power that does not shatter under pressure. Together, they shape a resilient posture capable of influencing outcomes. This synergy reinforces identity. The Stoic grows stronger by aligning internal discipline with external conditions. This alignment ensures that effort flows cleanly toward meaningful objectives. Misalignment leads to wasted energy, frustration, and weakened execution. Alignment transforms effort into progress. Progress builds authority. A prepared mind interprets events accurately. Accuracy reduces mistakes and sharpens timing. Timing often determines whether an opportunity becomes a turning point or a missed moment. The Stoic trains themselves to act at the correct moment through disciplined observation. Observation reveals rhythm. Rhythm becomes a form of insight. Those who sense the timing of events position themselves advantageously. This positioning creates the appearance of luck, but the foundation lies in preparation. People follow those who consistently act with correct timing. Timing becomes influence. Acceptance strengthens resilience. When difficulty arises, those who accept its presence adapt without emotional collapse. Their stability under strain influences others through example. People rely on those who do not fracture. Resilience becomes leadership. A person who prepares consistently sharpens their intuition. Intuition is not guesswork. It is experience compressed into rapid recognition. Prepared individuals read situations quickly because they have trained for them. This rapid recognition improves strategy and strengthens outcomes. Intuition becomes silent intelligence. Acceptance eliminates denial-based hesitation. Hesitation delays action and diminishes opportunity. When circumstances are accepted fully, the individual moves with clarity and conviction. Conviction influences perception. Perception shapes influence. Preparation strengthens posture. A prepared individual holds themselves with quiet confidence. This confidence radiates through presence and behavior. People sense when someone is ready. Readiness becomes authority. Acceptance strengthens psychological endurance. Endurance supports sustained action through prolonged difficulty. Difficult conditions exhaust those who resist them, but strengthen those who work with them. Endurance becomes structural power. Structure reinforces identity. A Stoic integrates preparation into daily life. They treat each day as a chance to refine skill, increase clarity, and reinforce discipline. This integration eliminates reliance on motivation. Discipline replaces sentiment. Discipline becomes infrastructure. A Stoic integrates acceptance into their worldview. This integration removes the friction created by unrealistic expectations. When friction decreases, efficiency increases. Efficiency creates opportunity for greater capability. Capability builds momentum. Power develops when the individual ceases to chase ideal conditions. Ideal conditions rarely appear. Real conditions shape destiny. The Stoic adapts to what is present and uses it as material for mastery. Adaptation strengthens resilience. Resilience expands reach. Prepared individuals recognize that results emerge from consistent action, not occasional bursts of effort. Consistency stabilizes progress. Progress builds reputation. Reputation influences how others respond. Response forms leverage. Accepted reality sharpens strategic vision. A person who sees the environment without distortion identifies openings that others overlook. These openings become channels for growth. Growth reinforces posture. Posture communicates strength. Preparation deepens clarity. Clarity reduces missteps. Each accurate movement builds a stronger record of execution. This record becomes a psychological foundation that supports further ambition. Clarity evolves into confidence. Acceptance deepens calm. Calm sharpens perception. Perception reveals pathways that panic conceals. The calm individual navigates complexity without unnecessary tension. Calmness becomes tactical strength. The interplay between preparation and acceptance creates balance. Preparation looks forward. Acceptance roots the individual in the present. This balance stabilizes the mind and sharpens the ability to act. Balanced action becomes effective action. Effectiveness becomes influence. Power flows to those who treat readiness as identity rather than task. Identity-based discipline becomes natural, removing emotional resistance. Natural discipline increases output. Output shapes reputation. Reputation shapes opportunity. Power also flows to those who accept that resistance to reality weakens direction. Acceptance grants access to clarity. Clarity supports precision. Precision stabilizes execution. Execution builds strength. A person who prepares steadily and accepts fully becomes difficult to destabilize. Their internal structure does not shift with external turbulence. This stability creates long-term advantage. Advantage becomes presence. Prepared individuals rise in environments that overwhelm others. Their readiness provides structure when chaos intensifies. This structure becomes a resource for those around them. People trust the prepared. Trust expands influence. Those who accept reality move with greater agility. They are not slowed by disappointment or emotional friction. Agility enhances opportunity recognition and decision-making. Agility strengthens adaptability. Adaptability supports dominance. The union of preparation and acceptance forms a path towards sustained power. Each discipline reinforces the other, creating a mindset built for endurance, clarity, and effective action. The Stoic who cultivates both becomes capable of navigating pressures that destabilize the untrained. These principles continue to expand the individual's capability without limit. The ascent remains active as readiness deepens and alignment sharpens. Real strength is built on the foundation of inner stability. When a person strengthens their character before pursuing influence, they create power that cannot be taken away. Many chase authority without realizing that true command begins with moral alignment. Without that structure, external achievements rest on weak ground. The Stoic understands that integrity is not decoration, it is architecture. Musonius Rufus taught that in every case, the best thing is what benefits the soul. This principle separates enduring power from temporary dominance. When decisions elevate the soul, they reinforce the structure of character that supports leadership and stability. When choices weaken that structure, collapse follows no matter the external outcome. Power without virtue dissolves under its own weight. Moral strength creates gravity. People are drawn to those whose actions align with principle because it signals reliability in a chaotic world. A disciplined mind anchored in ethics becomes unshakable. Such steadiness exerts influence without the need for manipulation. Integrity generates respect naturally. The Stoic measures progress not by accumulation, but by internal clarity. Each decision that strengthens conscience increases authority. Those who betray their own principles may gain advantage for a moment, but they lose self-command. A divided mind cannot lead effectively. Unity of values and action defines sustainable influence. Character determines the quality of every result. When the soul remains disciplined, actions flow with precision. When the soul is neglected, even talent fails under strain. The Stoic builds inner virtue first because it governs everything else. Strength of soul becomes the anchor that holds through uncertainty. Virtue stabilizes command. Power matures through confrontation with resistance. Every obstacle refines the disciplined person by exposing weaknesses that need correction. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he wrote that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. Obstacles are not interruptions to progress. They are instruments of development. The untrained view obstacles as signals to stop. The disciplined view them as material for growth. Difficulty clarifies intention and tests conviction. When a person faces resistance with composure, their capability expands. Resistance is the teacher that exposes both limits and potential. A Stoic converts setbacks into structure. When something blocks a path, they analyze, adapt, and construct a new route. Each redirection strengthens resilience. Instead of lamenting difficulty, they extract lessons and reinforcement. Adversity becomes reinforcement rather than reduction. Power grows when the individual refuses to waste energy on complaint. Complaint drains vitality and obscures solutions. The Stoic preserves energy by confronting reality as it is and using it as leverage. The obstacle becomes a point of leverage precisely because it cannot be avoided. Leverage is found in confrontation, not escape. Adversity is neutral until it meets the trained mind. One person collapses beneath it, another rises through it. The difference lies in interpretation and reaction. The Stoic trains the mind to treat hardship as functional material for progress. Hardship becomes the proving ground of endurance. Every external challenge reveals an internal lesson. Each delay, loss, or limitation sharpens some dimension of control, patience, or creativity. Those who understand this process grow stronger with each difficulty. The Stoic does not resist the struggle. They cooperate with it intelligently. The obstacle becomes the path forward. When facing resistance, composure becomes the highest currency. Composure allows for deliberate evaluation when chaos surrounds. Those who maintain composure command the environment because they are not commanded by it. This psychological steadiness converts disorder into strategy. Calm perception becomes tactical superiority. The practice of Stoicism trains reaction as the central lever of power. External events will always vary beyond control, but response remains within reach. Epictetus captured this truth with the reminder that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Every reaction determines whether energy is preserved or wasted. Reactivity weakens command. When the individual reacts impulsively, they surrender control to external conditions. The Stoic cultivates a delay between event and response. Within that delay lies freedom and strategy. Controlled reaction converts volatility into opportunity. Power increases when emotional neutrality replaces impulsive behavior. Neutrality allows precise analysis and prevents the escalation of chaos. Those who control emotion retain clarity in negotiations, conflict, and decision-making. Controlled emotion becomes hidden power. Restraint strengthens execution. The individual who commands their reactions commands their destiny. Reaction is the first battlefield of every challenge. Each victory there determines the outcome of what follows. The Stoic trains for this battlefield daily, preparing to remain composed under all conditions. Mastery of reaction defines mastery of life. The combination of moral strength, resilience in adversity, and control of reaction creates unshakable presence. Each element reinforces the other. Character keeps direction pure. Endurance transforms obstacles into growth. Composure ensures clarity under stress. Together, they form a complete structure of sustainable power. Virtue refines ambition. Without virtue, ambition becomes greed and leads to collapse. With virtue, ambition becomes disciplined purpose. The Stoic channels drive through principle, keeping intensity aligned with integrity. This alignment transforms energy into influence. Principle directs momentum. A person's influence endures when it arises from authentic strength rather than external image. Image fades when tested, but authenticity deepens through testing. The Stoic embraces trials as proof of internal structure. Tested integrity gains weight over time. Authentic strength earns loyalty. Adversity cleanses illusions about control. When external comfort disappears, internal discipline remains as the only true resource. The Stoic welcomes these moments as clarifying. In the absence of luxury, real power becomes visible. Discipline survives all conditions. Reaction determines emotional economy. A person who spends their emotional energy on irritation or fear depletes their ability to think clearly. The Stoic preserves emotional energy for deliberate action. This conservation multiplies effectiveness. Efficiency begins with emotional restraint. Obstacles serve as mirrors showing where development is required. When the same problem recurs, it signals an untrained part of the mind. The Stoic observes patterns without denial and strengthens the weak points. This continuous refinement prevents stagnation. Refinement becomes progress. Moral integrity influences leadership perception. Followers trust consistency more than charisma. Consistency rooted in virtue assures others that decisions are not dictated by ego or impulse. This trust builds authority that endures through shifting conditions. Integrity sustains leadership. Adversity introduces the individual to their own potential. Each challenge handled with courage expands what is possible. Courage converts uncertainty into progress. A Stoic studies adversity as an instrument of awakening. Difficulty reveals undiscovered strength. Reaction training becomes a lifelong discipline. The Stoic rehearses calm responses to imagined crises so that real crises meet practiced composure. Preparation transforms theory into reflex. Reflexive calm becomes instinctual authority. Training replaces panic with precision. Moral strength shapes emotional behavior. When virtue governs the mind, destructive impulses lose influence. A virtuous person does not need constant external control. Their principles enforce internal order. This self-regulation produces freedom. Freedom sustains power. Obstacles keep strength alive. Without resistance, discipline weakens through disuse. The Stoic recognizes that ease is often more dangerous than struggle. Struggle refines vigilance and keeps ambition alive. Difficulty becomes the forge of vitality. Reaction mastery extends into communication. The person who responds thoughtfully commands conversations, negotiations, and conflicts. Calm speech diffuses hostility and re-establishes control. Precision in response conveys confidence. Composure communicates authority. Moral focus protects against corruption. When a person measures gain against conscience, they remain stable even when power grows. Power without ethical grounding eventually devours itself. Ethical grounding maintains direction. Direction maintains strength. Endurance transforms temporary suffering into permanent capacity. Each hardship survived adds structural density to the mind. Over time, this density becomes silent confidence. Confidence grows into presence. Presence radiates authority. Reaction mastery strengthens mental freedom. The Stoic separates perception from projection, seeing things as they are rather than through the filter of fear or desire. Clear perception simplifies choice. Simplicity accelerates effective action. Freedom becomes clarity. Virtue refines emotion into strength. Anger becomes focus, fear becomes awareness, and desire becomes determination. This transformation converts raw impulse into disciplined energy. Energy under control magnifies effectiveness. Effectiveness becomes influence. Obstacles test commitment to values. Many claim principles until difficulty appears. The Stoic proves principles through endurance. Adherence to value during hardship becomes visible integrity. Integrity visible under fire becomes authority recognized by others. Reaction mastery turns unpredictability into advantage. When chaos rises, the untrained lose composure while the disciplined remain calm. Calmness magnifies strategic power because it creates contrast against disorder. The Stoic moves deliberately through chaos. Order advances through composure. True power matures when moral strength, obstacle mastery, and controlled reaction merge into a unified posture. This posture does not depend on recognition or reward. It is sustained by structure, not sentiment. Structure endures beyond circumstance. The process of refinement continues without end, strengthening the individual further each time they face resistance. Power depends on adaptability. The world shifts constantly, reshaping the systems, challenges, and opportunities that define it. A person who clings to what once worked loses relevance quickly, while one who adapts grows stronger with every change. The Stoic understands that nothing remains still. Order is maintained not by resisting motion, but by learning to move with precision within it. Strength arises from flexibility joined with discipline. Heraclitus captured this truth when he said that no man ever steps in the same river twice. The current always changes, and so must the one who walks within it. Each moment carries new information that demands awareness and recalibration. The person who trains themselves to read shifting conditions maintains command while others lose balance. Adaptability becomes not compromise, but control in motion. Rigid minds fracture when the environment transforms. They mistake consistency for strength and stability for immobility. The Stoic redefines stability as the ability to maintain internal coherence while external patterns evolve. This kind of stability endures precisely because it bends intelligently rather than resists blindly. Flexibility fortified by principle becomes unbreakable. Adaptation requires perception. To perceive accurately, one must learn to pause and observe without assumption. Observation transforms chaos into data. The disciplined person does not rush to judgment. They study the flow of events before acting. Patience becomes a strategic advantage. People often equate adaptation with weakness, but in truth, it signals mastery. The weak are forced to change by external pressure. The strong adapt deliberately to maintain dominance. The Stoic anticipates movement, preparing themselves mentally and structurally for volatility. This readiness transforms uncertainty into opportunity. Power expands through adaptation. Adaptability does not discard principle. Principles form the core that guides direction, even as strategies evolve. When principles are solid and methods flexible, the individual becomes unstoppable. Rigidity breaks, but rooted flexibility persists. Balance between consistency and evolution defines mastery. A Stoic studies change with curiosity rather than fear. Change exposes the landscape of opportunity hidden within disruption. When others retreat in confusion, the disciplined person advances with awareness. Awareness converts instability into leverage. Change becomes the field where advantage is created. Adaptation refines intelligence. Each shift demands re-evaluation and teaches lessons that static existence could never reveal. The Stoic remains a lifelong student of conditions, not a prisoner of certainty. Curiosity keeps perception alive. Continuous learning sharpens influence. Adaptation also protects peace. People who expect the world to remain as they wish suffer constant frustration. Those who expect change find calm in transition. This calm forms the center from which strategic movement begins. Calm adaptability becomes composed strength. Peace supports precision. The examined life strengthens adaptability because reflection reveals patterns. Without reflection, a person repeats the same mistakes in new environments. Socrates emphasized that the unexamined life is not worth living. Reflection converts experience into knowledge and knowledge into foresight. Foresight transforms reaction into direction. Examination creates clarity of purpose. When a person understands their motives and tendencies, they stop acting blindly. Clarity prevents wasteful motion and directs energy toward meaningful aims. The Stoic uses reflection as navigation. Self-knowledge becomes a compass through uncertainty. The reflective mind distinguishes between what changes and what should remain constant. Core values act as the foundation, while strategy adapts around them. This separation allows for movement without confusion. Reflection guards against impulsive drift. Thoughtful examination creates strategic direction. Adaptation and reflection reinforce each other. Reflection provides the awareness needed to adapt correctly, while adaptation provides the experiences that deepen reflection. This cycle forms a loop of continuous evolution. The Stoic thrives within this loop because it transforms living into deliberate progression. Growth becomes structural. The individual who examines themselves regularly develops resistance to manipulation. When motives are clear, persuasion loses its hold. Clarity disarms influence based on confusion. The Stoics' introspection protects independence. Independence strengthens authority. Change reveals the truth about preparation. Those who only perform under controlled conditions collapse when variables shift. The Stoic trains under diverse conditions, exposing themselves to discomfort to increase tolerance. This conditioning expands operational range. Range builds capability. Reflection transforms experience into discipline. Experience alone changes little without analysis. When a person studies their reactions, decisions, and results, they evolve faster than those who act without review. Reflection converts failure into refinement. Refinement sustains advancement. A mind that resists reflection remains trapped in repetition. Repetition without learning creates stagnation. The Stoic interrupts this cycle by treating every outcome as instruction. Each lesson absorbed adds depth to understanding. Depth supports wisdom. Adaptation stabilizes leadership. Leaders who respond fluidly to new realities maintain credibility. Those who cling to outdated methods lose the trust of others. The Stoic leader adjusts with dignity and calm, guiding transitions without panic. Leadership remains effective through composure. Composure communicates competence. Reflection strengthens confidence. When a person knows the reasons behind their actions, they act without doubt. Doubt fades when direction is verified through understanding. Confidence grounded in reflection becomes calm assurance. Assurance amplifies presence. Adaptability multiplies efficiency. Those who can shift approaches quickly waste no time resisting what is already true. They engage with reality directly, finding the shortest path forward. This directness accelerates results. Flexibility creates speed. The reflective life produces humility. Self-examination exposes limitations and errors, allowing growth without arrogance. Humility strengthens adaptability because it removes the fear of correction. The Stoic welcomes correction as refinement, not defeat. correction becomes evolution. Adaptation extends to emotion. The Stoic adjusts emotional posture based on context without abandoning integrity. Anger transforms into alertness, fear into vigilance, joy into motivation. Controlled adaptation of emotion maintains balance. Balance extends performance. Reflection deepens gratitude. By examining life, the Stoic recognizes progress already made and lessons already learned. Gratitude replaces resentment with strength. Gratitude becomes emotional armor. Perspective sustains endurance. Adaptation strengthens strategic awareness of timing. The ability to act neither too soon nor too late defines mastery. Timing comes from observation and emotional steadiness. The Stoic observes rhythm in all things. Rhythm guides action. Reflection nurtures long-term vision. A person who reflects on past choices sees connections that others miss. This pattern recognition allows accurate forecasting. Foresight supports stable expansion. Vision turns knowledge into influence. Adaptability protects from extinction. History favors those who evolve, not those who cling. The Stoic studies history as evidence of the necessity of change. Adaptation becomes not only a skill, but a moral responsibility to remain capable. Survival becomes intentional. Reflection safeguards moral alignment. In constant change, temptation grows to abandon principle for convenience. The Stoic revisits their values frequently to ensure they remain intact. This discipline maintains integrity while navigating flux. Reflection guards the soul. Adaptation sharpens creativity. When conditions shift, the mind must innovate to survive. Innovation requires both openness and discipline. The Stoic cultivates both, transforming constraint into invention. Challenge becomes material for imagination. Reflection transforms silence into insight. In quiet moments, the mind processes what noise conceals. Insight appears not in activity, but in attention. The Stoic values stillness as part of action. Silence reveals structure. Adaptability grants mental youth. Rigidity ages the mind long before the body follows. A flexible perspective preserves curiosity and vigor. The Stoic remains mentally alive through continuous renewal. Renewal becomes vitality. Reflection grants self-command. Each period of examination tightens focus and strengthens discipline. Self-command translates into external command because authority begins within. The reflective person governs their own impulses first. Governance becomes leadership. Adaptation transforms uncertainty into motion. Instead of waiting for clarity, the Stoic moves with calculated awareness. Motion generates feedback, and feedback generates clarity. This loop prevents paralysis. Movement becomes understanding. Reflection transforms regret into refinement. Instead of dwelling on past errors, the Stoic analyzes them for structure. Lessons replace guilt, and forward motion resumes. Reflection restores momentum. Understanding neutralizes failure. Adaptation produces resilience in both thought and action. Those who can shift perspectives recover faster from disruption. Recovery is not mere survival, but accelerated reorientation. The Stoic treats recovery as part of their strength. Recovery becomes readiness. Reflection purifies purpose. When examined, motives either strengthen or dissolve. Weak motives vanish under scrutiny. Strong ones harden. The Stoic seeks this purification deliberately. Purpose clarified through reflection becomes indestructible. Adaptability and reflection together forge a cycle of conscious evolution. One shapes reaction to the world, the other shapes the world within. The Stoic merges both into a seamless discipline of awareness and flexibility. This union converts life into a continuous process of refinement. Power expands naturally through intelligent adaptation and deliberate reflection. Power originates in self-command. A person who cannot govern themselves cannot sustain influence in any domain. The Stoic understands that the first empire to rule is the mind. Without internal governance, every external victory collapses under inconsistency. Authority begins within and radiates outward through behavior, presence, and precision. The measure of a powerful person is not how much they control others, but how much they control themselves. Seneca observed that most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. This insight defines the core of sustainable strength. Those who regulate their impulses, emotions, and habits establish order that no external force can disrupt. Self-command transforms unpredictability into stability. The untrained mind acts as an open gate for distraction, emotion, and manipulation. Each uncontrolled thought or reaction leaks energy that could have been directed toward progress. The Stoic closes these gates through awareness and discipline. Attention becomes guarded territory. Energy preserved becomes influence multiplied. True self-command requires both observation and correction. Observation allows a person to detect internal imbalance before it becomes destructive. Correction restores equilibrium through disciplined choice. This process repeats daily, gradually forming an unbreakable internal structure. Repetition turns control into nature. A person who governs themselves commands presence. Others instinctively recognize order in the way they move, speak, and decide. This perception creates respect before words are spoken. Presence communicates capability without declaration. Self-command becomes silent authority. Marcus Aurelius taught that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. External control is an illusion pursued by those who fear inner stillness. The Stoic invests energy where it produces results, in thought, perception, and response. Once the mind is governed, external chaos loses influence. Internal order neutralizes external volatility. People often seek dominance over environments they do not yet understand. The Stoic reverses this by first mastering perception. When perception is clear, actions align with reason instead of impulse. This alignment produces results that seem effortless to the untrained eye. Control of mind becomes control of direction. Internal mastery simplifies decision-making. Without inner turbulence, judgment flows without distortion. The Stoic does not rush decisions under emotion. They wait for calm clarity before acting. This patience increases precision. Precision strengthens authority. Self-command also transforms emotional energy into deliberate force. Anger becomes focus, fear becomes alertness, and desire becomes drive. The disciplined person does not suppress emotion, but directs it. Channeling replaces repression. Directed emotion becomes controlled power. Freedom emerges from this control. Epictetus wrote that no man is free who is not master of himself. Freedom is not escape from rules, but command of one's reactions within them. Those who depend on mood, approval, or comfort remain enslaved to circumstance. The Stoic achieves freedom through disciplined detachment. Detachment is not withdrawal, it is selective engagement. The individual who commands themselves operates from principle, not pressure. Principle defines the boundary of integrity. When decisions are made from a calm center, external conditions lose the ability to dictate direction. Internal consistency becomes the source of strength. Consistency stabilizes influence. Self-command is tested most under stress. When the environment intensifies, those without internal structure react wildly. The Stoic remains composed, converting stress into signal. Every difficulty becomes information to be processed, not chaos to be feared. Composure converts disorder into data. Reaction management defines leadership capacity. A leader who collapses emotionally during crisis weakens the entire structure they guide. The Stoic leader remains steady, absorbing turbulence without transmitting it. Their calm presence becomes the anchor for others. Stability becomes leadership. Self-command also protects time. Uncontrolled people surrender their hours to distraction and impulse. The disciplined person allocates time with precision, understanding that time misused is life wasted. Controlled time compounds into momentum. Momentum transforms consistency into visible power. Mastery over the mind includes mastery over focus. Attention determines quality of action. The Stoic trains attention as one would train strength, through deliberate repetition and resistance. A controlled focus cuts through confusion. Concentration becomes a strategic weapon. People often mistake indulgence for freedom. Indulgence leads to dependence, and dependence erodes control. The Stoic practices moderation to maintain choice. When nothing owns you, you are free to act with clarity. Discipline expands possibility. A person who governs themselves cannot be easily manipulated. External incentives, praise or threats lose their grip. The Stoic acts from internal conviction rather than external validation. Autonomy grows as approval loses meaning. Independence becomes armor. Self-command enhances perception of others. A calm observer detects motives that reactive minds miss. This understanding allows better navigation of social and professional dynamics. Awareness becomes leverage. Composure becomes insight. The disciplined person develops endurance by training under controlled difficulty. Controlled difficulty builds resilience for uncontrolled environments. When pressure arrives unexpectedly, the Stoic structure holds firm. Endurance becomes effortless strength. Structure transforms stress into routine. Self-command influences communication. Words chosen under control carry more weight than those spoken impulsively. The Stoic pauses before speaking, measuring tone and consequence. This discipline transforms dialogue into precision. Controlled language builds trust. Internal mastery eliminates wasted effort. Energy directed by discipline reaches its target efficiently. The Stoic acts with clean intent, avoiding emotional detours. This efficiency multiplies effectiveness. Precision becomes impact. The power of restraint cannot be overstated. When others react, the Stoic waits. When others panic, the Stoic analyzes. This stillness amidst motion grants an informational advantage. Restraint becomes momentum in disguise. Waiting becomes action. Self-command refines identity. Each moment of control reinforces who the individual is becoming. When action and principle align repeatedly, identity hardens into reliability. Reliability generates influence because people trust consistency. Trust compounds into authority. A mind that governs itself remains immune to manipulation by emotion, media, or trend. The Stoic filters input intentionally, guarding internal order. Mental sovereignty ensures clarity of direction, regardless of external noise. The mind becomes fortress and compass simultaneously. Focus becomes dominion. Power built on internal mastery cannot be taken away. External status can shift, wealth can fluctuate, but discipline endures. The Stoic invests in what cannot be removed. This investment produces stability that others feel but cannot explain. Enduring stability inspires confidence. Self-command brings silence to chaos. When the mind is ordered, External conflict loses its pull. The individual moves deliberately while others scatter. Deliberate motion becomes presence. Presence becomes persuasion. A disciplined inner life also enhances physical discipline. The Stoic connects body and mind as a single system. Training one strengthens the other. Physical control reinforces mental sharpness. Embodied discipline amplifies authority. Mastery of reaction extends beyond emotion into thought speed. A controlled thinker does not rush conclusions but navigates complexity methodically. This precision produces consistent accuracy. Accuracy builds reliability. Reliability sustains power. Self-command refines relationships. The person who manages themselves interacts without unnecessary friction. Conflict reduces, cooperation increases, and trust strengthens. Controlled emotion becomes social efficiency. Efficiency builds networks of influence. Every form of power without self-command deteriorates under stress. Charisma fades, wealth depletes, and influence erodes when discipline disappears. The Stoic understands that self-control is the engine beneath every enduring achievement. Remove it, and collapse follows. Preserve it, and growth compounds. Control of thought dictates quality of life. The Stoic filters perception through logic rather than emotion. Logic neutralizes distortion, preserving truth in decision-making. Truth supports direction. Direction sustains advancement. Freedom, discipline, and control are not separate traits. They are one process expressed in different forms. Freedom is the outcome, discipline the method, control the state. Together they form the architecture of power. Architecture endures change. Self-command transforms existence from reaction into creation. The individual becomes the designer of their own trajectory rather than a passenger within it. Each choice builds further precision, and precision builds power. Power expands through mastery, not conquest. The disciplined remain unshaken as they continue evolving toward greater internal and external command. Power reveals the structure of character more clearly than any other condition. When a person gains influence, their internal order or disorder becomes visible. Authority magnifies what already exists within. The disciplined remain composed under power. The untrained unravel. The Stoic approaches power as both privilege and test, understanding that command exposes integrity. Plato stated that the measure of a man is what he does with power. This principle defines the distinction between those who use strength to build and those who use it to consume. The disciplined individual treats power as stewardship, not possession. They understand that every decision builds or erodes trust. Governance of power requires restraint, clarity, and alignment with principle. The misuse of power stems from confusion of purpose. When individuals seek domination rather than order, they decay from within. The Stoic views power as a function of responsibility, to maintain structure, protect stability, and advance reason. Influence earned through discipline must be managed through virtue. Virtue sustains authority when force cannot. The leader who treats power as service amplifies strength. Service does not weaken command, it purifies it. The Stoic leads by principle, directing energy where it stabilizes others and sharpens systems. Each act of restraint builds silent respect. Restraint is invisible strength. Power tests self-knowledge. Those who have not examined their motives are enslaved by them. Without awareness, authority becomes intoxication rather than instrument. The Stoic guards against this by maintaining internal observation even while in command. Reflection preserves balance. Character determines how power behaves once acquired. Heraclitus expressed this truth when he said that character is destiny. Power without character collapses because it lacks structure. Character acts as the architecture that supports authority through turbulence. It directs ambition through discipline and converts strength into influence that endures. The formation of character requires repetition of principle. Each act of honesty, restraint, and endurance fortifies the inner framework. Over time, these repetitions harden into habit, and habit becomes destiny. The Stoic recognizes that no external gain compensates for internal decay. Destiny is built daily through choice. Strong character stabilizes command. In times of crisis, people instinctively follow those who display calm authority. Calmness signals that the person's power does not depend on circumstance. This composure becomes a magnetic center of order. Character manifests as leadership without proclamation. Weak character transforms power into volatility. The individual shifts with public opinion, seeking validation rather than direction. This instability corrodes trust. The Stoic cultivates immovable principles to prevent such erosion. Consistency becomes influence. True strength does what is necessary rather than what is easy. Thucydides wrote that the strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. The Stoic interprets this not as cruelty, but as realism. Power flows toward preparation. Those who discipline themselves are able to act when others hesitate. Readiness transforms potential into dominance. In any competitive landscape, those who train their minds and systems command advantage. Hope without preparation is illusion. The Stoic builds capacity so that when opportunity arises, action is immediate and precise. This readiness creates the perception of inevitability. Those who prepare become the strong. Strength in this sense is not exploitation, but capability. To do what one can implies responsibility to act within principle while maintaining superiority through skill. The Stoic balances pragmatism with morality, ensuring that might does not corrupt right. Ethical strength outlasts opportunistic power. Prepared virtue defines sovereignty. The weak suffer not because fate dictates it, but because they fail to prepare. Neglect of discipline leads to subjugation by those who value it. The Stoic refuses passivity, understanding that endurance and intelligence convert difficulty into control. Preparation becomes justice to oneself. Self-discipline is protection against weakness. Power expands through authenticity. When a person aligns their actions with their true nature, influence flows effortlessly. Pindar captured this essence with the phrase, "Become who you are." Authenticity unites intention and expression, creating presence that cannot be imitated. People trust congruence even when they disagree with it. Congruence communicates power. Authenticity requires clarity of identity. The Stoic invests in self-knowledge to understand strengths, flaws, and purpose. This understanding creates coherence across decisions. When identity is clear, actions are consistent, and consistency projects authority. Clarity becomes command. Imitation weakens leadership because it fractures integrity. Those who model themselves on others lose the confidence that comes from self-alignment. The Stoic refines their own nature rather than copying another's. Individual refinement generates unique influence. Originality becomes a form of power. Authenticity stabilizes endurance. Pretending drains energy, while truth sustains it. The authentic leader expends no energy maintaining illusion. This conservation strengthens presence under pressure. Truth becomes efficiency. The Stoic fuses principle, preparation, and authenticity into a unified structure of power. Principle provides moral direction, preparation provides capability, and authenticity provides identity. These three elements reinforce one another. When combined, they produce authority that does not require explanation. Authority becomes natural law in motion. Character decides how power will evolve once gained. Without inner order, success magnifies weakness. With inner order, success magnifies strength. The Stoic builds order first to ensure expansion remains sustainable. Internal structure precedes external empire. Foundation determines height. Power must be disciplined to remain legitimate. Legitimacy is not granted. It is earned through consistency and justice. The Stoic enforces fairness upon themselves first, refusing privileges that corrode principle. This integrity commands respect, even from rivals. Respect forms invisible governance. Character also dictates the endurance of legacy. Influence without virtue fades quickly once control disappears. Virtuous influence endures because it creates stability that others seek to preserve. The Stoic works for permanence, not attention. Permanence is the reward of disciplined virtue. The prepared mind operates strategically under pressure. Where others react, the Stoic calculates. Strategic restraint often outweighs raw aggression. Restraint allows information to surface before decision. Knowledge expands through patience. Power matures when guided by ethics. Ethics convert force into constructive authority. The Stoic applies reason as a filter before action, ensuring that strength is exercised with precision and purpose. Precision in power protects from corruption. Reason preserves purity. Authenticity deepens connection with others. When actions reflect truth, communication requires no persuasion. People sense alignment through tone and behavior. Authentic influence bypasses resistance. Truth accelerates acceptance. Preparation reinforces authenticity by reducing fear. Fear drives deception. Readiness removes the need for it. The Stoic stands in truth because they have trained for reality. Courage grows from competence. Competence projects authority. A person's treatment of power reveals their philosophy of life. Those who treat it as conquest remain fragile. Those who treat it as cultivation grow unassailable. The Stoic cultivates power as one cultivates strength, through constant refinement. Refinement eliminates decay. Growth becomes purification. Discipline ensures that character and authority rise together. When one outpaces the other, imbalance forms. The Stoic maintains equilibrium through constant self-assessment. Reflection keeps progress ethical. Ethical progress sustains influence. True dominance requires no declaration. It is recognized through consistency, silence, and unshakable posture. The Stoic does not announce control, they demonstrate it. Demonstration replaces rhetoric. Presence becomes evidence. Power magnifies responsibility. The higher the reach, the greater the demand for restraint. The Stoic embraces this paradox, understanding that the ability to hold back demonstrates greater control than the ability to act. Controlled potential is respected more than constant motion. Containment becomes sophistication. Those who misuse power lose it through erosion of trust. Every unjust action invites eventual correction through collapse. The Stoic prevents this by aligning power with justice, ensuring durability. Justice preserves continuity. Continuity preserves command. Authenticity integrates all virtues into coherence. Courage, wisdom, and discipline flow together without contradiction. The Stoic's influence becomes seamless because every part reflects the same principle. Coherence becomes identity. Identity becomes authority. Power guided by character does not fear loss. It understands that control over self ensures control over destiny. When external forces shift, internal structure remains intact. The Stoic builds where change cannot reach. Integrity becomes invincibility. Character transforms ambition from hunger into vision. Vision guided by discipline creates legacy. Legacy is the natural result of power used responsibly. The Stoics' name endures not for force, but for order. Order becomes immortality in motion. Those who study power without studying character misunderstand its nature. Power is not the ability to impose. It is the ability to remain uncorrupted while capable of imposing. The Stoic embodies this equilibrium through awareness and restraint. Awareness maintains distance from corruption. Restraint preserves freedom. In the end, power returns to its source, the disciplined mind and the virtuous character that governs it. Preparation sharpens its edge, authenticity purifies its direction, and integrity anchors its weight. When these forces align, influence becomes unshakable. Power governed by wisdom becomes permanence in motion, continuing to expand through the strength of the person who has mastered themselves. True power requires stability of desire. The individual who is driven solely by acquisition remains trapped in motion without rest, mistaking accumulation for progress. The Stoic understands that endless craving is not ambition, it is dependency disguised as purpose. Control of appetite defines maturity, and maturity anchors power. Those who cannot find equilibrium within themselves cannot maintain it in the world. Contentment is not the enemy of progress, it is the foundation of endurance. A person who appreciates their current position sees clearly how to build upon it. Gratitude refines perception, turning what already exists into material for advancement. The discontented see only absence, and absence blinds them to opportunity. Power strengthens when anchored in appreciation rather than lack. Socrates warned that he who is not contented with what he has will not be contented with what he would like to have. This insight exposes the trap of unchecked ambition. A restless mind believes fulfillment lies in the next victory, yet finds emptiness waiting after each achievement. The Stoic stabilizes ambition through purpose, ensuring that desire serves progress instead of consuming it. Stability converts desire into direction. Ambition without discipline breeds chaos. When a person pursues goals without reflection, they build velocity without control. The Stoic aligns ambition with values, ensuring that growth enhances rather than corrupts. Discipline transforms drive into focused evolution. Controlled ambition sustains power. Satisfaction is not stagnation, it is clarity. To see one's current blessings with sharpness strengthens confidence and direction. Contentment allows energy to be channeled strategically rather than scattered through envy or comparison. Those who master contentment are free from distraction. Freedom increases effectiveness. The world rewards those who can maintain composure while pursuing greatness. Composure arises from the ability to remain balanced amidst pursuit. The Stoic does not detach from ambition, they discipline it. Ambition becomes tool, not tyrant. Direction replaces desperation. The mind that chases endlessly loses command of itself. Constant wanting dulls judgment, replacing strategy with craving. A person who cannot pause loses the ability to evaluate progress. The Stoic learns to pause, measure, and continue with deliberate strength. Stillness between actions refines motion. Real strength lies in knowing when enough is sufficient for now. This recognition conserves energy and prevents burnout. Those who never stop reaching eventually lose precision. Precision decays when rest disappears. The Stoic balances exertion with restoration, ensuring longevity in all pursuits. Contentment forms the psychological base of resilience. When external gain temporarily fades, those who rely on internal satisfaction remain unshaken. Gratitude becomes shield against instability. The Stoic trains gratitude as discipline, not emotion. Stability of mind becomes armor against loss. Endless craving destroys perspective. The mind consumed by desire cannot differentiate between essential and trivial aims. The Stoic filters desire through purpose, discarding what dilutes focus. Purpose transforms appetite into clarity. Clarity strengthens trajectory. The disciplined person treats every accomplishment as part of a greater continuum. Success is not a conclusion, but confirmation of structure. This mindset prevents the intoxication that follows recognition. Recognition fades, but structure endures. The Stoic invests in endurance over applause. Contentment sharpens judgment. A person at peace with their progress evaluates new opportunities objectively, without emotional distortion. This objectivity improves timing and decision-making. The Stoic's calm detachment enables sharper execution. Peace improves precision. Greed masquerades as ambition until the mind outgrows it. The Stoic evolves beyond the need for constant proof. Their drive stems from refinement, not validation. Refinement seeks mastery, not recognition. Mastery sustains influence. Those who measure success by comparison condemn themselves to weakness. Comparison diverts focus from growth to envy. The Stoic compares only against their former self, ensuring progress remains internal and controllable. Internal measurement produces freedom. Freedom magnifies power. Stability of ambition produces endurance in leadership. A calm leader transmits steadiness to those who follow. People trust what does not fluctuate under success or pressure. The Stoic maintains emotional neutrality during both triumph and loss. Neutrality preserves authority. The illusion of satisfaction through external gain collapses quickly. The Stoic replaces the pursuit of excess with pursuit of excellence. Excellence cannot be taken away. It evolves with the person who practices it. Pursuit of excellence anchors ambition to substance. Substance creates permanence. A mind grounded in contentment sees opportunities more clearly because it is not distorted by desperation. Desperation narrows vision and breeds mistakes. Calm confidence broadens perception, identifying openings unseen by frantic competitors. Calmness enhances power. Presence expands influence. Fulfillment exists in precision, not possession. Each act performed with excellence carries inherent satisfaction. The Stoic cultivates this satisfaction deliberately, reducing dependence on external reward. Internal fulfillment liberates ambition from volatility. Purpose becomes the consistent motivator. Contentment strengthens focus during uncertainty. Those who rely on constant external growth panic when conditions change. The Stoic continues with equilibrium, adapting without emotional collapse. Equilibrium protects momentum. Steady ambition outlasts turbulence. Gratitude strengthens resilience under challenge. Recognizing what remains functional amidst adversity keeps motivation alive. The Stoic trains gratitude to counter despair. Gratitude is a form of control, reclaiming perception when outcomes falter. Controlled perception sustains determination. Endless craving enslaves the mind to the future. The Stoic reclaims the present as the arena of control. Power exists only in present execution, not in imagined results. Each moment, well used, compounds into command. Presence transforms anxiety into productivity. Those who can be content while striving possess rare composure. This composure radiates authority because it reflects internal security. In contrast, restless ambition communicates instability. The Stoic cultivates quiet confidence through disciplined desire. Calm pursuit commands respect. Ambition must be tempered by reflection. Reflection ensures that growth aligns with meaning. Expansion without direction leads to fragmentation. The Stoic reorients regularly to verify purpose. Purpose ensures continuity. Contentment and ambition are not opposites, they are partners. One provides peace, the other propulsion. Together they create sustainable movement. The Stoic integrates both to maintain steady elevation. Balance becomes progress. Those who never learn satisfaction remain perpetually enslaved to circumstance. Their fulfillment depends on conditions they cannot control. The Stoic withdraws that dependency, creating self-sufficiency of mind. Self-sufficiency stabilizes identity. Identity stabilizes influence. Appreciation refines ambition into precision. When a person values what they already hold, their next goals emerge from strength rather than lack. Strength-based ambition builds empires quietly. The Stoic moves from fullness, not emptiness. Fulfillment creates efficiency. The endless seeker loses intimacy with the present. The Stoic trains awareness to extract meaning from each day. Awareness transforms routine into ritual. Ritual builds structure. Structure supports command. A person content with themselves cannot be manipulated through temptation. Offers of excess fail to seduce one who has mastered desire. This immunity confers advantage in negotiations and decisions. The Stoic's restraint protects freedom. Freedom protects influence. Satisfaction stabilizes emotion. When inner peace replaces craving, reactions soften and perception sharpens. Calm minds make fewer errors. Fewer errors compound into consistent strength. Emotional equilibrium sustains dominance. The disciplined pursuit of goals paired with gratitude creates sustainable excellence. Gratitude prevents arrogance, and discipline prevents complacency. The Stoic keeps both in balance, ensuring continuous refinement. Refinement becomes identity. Power matured by contentment does not fluctuate with results. It remains constant because its foundation is internal. Those who depend on outcomes are ruled by them. The Stoic rules from within, unshaken by success or failure. Constancy becomes invincibility. A mind grounded in gratitude influences naturally. Others feel the composure of one who does not chase validation. This composure calms environments and strengthens trust. Trust becomes a multiplier of influence. Influence becomes extension of character. Contentment allows wisdom to guide ambition. Wisdom prioritizes quality over volume, endurance over speed. The Stoic applies patience to ambition, ensuring longevity. Longevity outperforms haste. Measured ambition wins through endurance. The Stoic treats achievement as practice, not climax. Every success simply expands the arena of discipline. This mindset prevents stagnation while preserving peace. Peace allows continuity of progress. Continuity ensures expansion without collapse. Fulfillment refines authority. When a leader operates from internal peace, their direction carries calm force. People follow certainty born of contentment more readily than ambition born of fear. The Stoic embodies this composure through presence alone. Presence communicates completion. To gain power without losing balance, one must understand sufficiency. Sufficiency stabilizes ambition by defining the boundary between growth and greed. The Stoic learns to pause before excess erodes virtue. Restraint becomes elegance. Elegance becomes strength. Contentment is not the end of ambition, it is its purification. The Stoic strives without desperation and rests without guilt. Every pursuit begins from gratitude and ends in refinement. This equilibrium sustains progress indefinitely. Power built on contentment endures without decay.